Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Dylan. So I recently just came back from a watercolor retreat in UK, and I thought it would be kind of fun to put a little tutorial on my sketchbook, this mini sketchbook that I have, a little mini tutorial of like a building I took in Rye, UK. Really kind of simple. I break it down. If you're a Patreon member, you get the traceable and the photograph. But you can always slow down the video, watch me draw it, and explain how I add some things like this in my sketchbook. And I love to do ink and wash, especially trying to pick a picture that has a lot of lines in it for the ink and wash. It's more fun to create that. If you have any questions, please leave in the comment section. So let's get started. All right, so to begin with, I have this sketchbook that I put in my shop, Amazon shop. Some tutorials are in here. This is the Tumarta 100% cotton sketchbook. I think it's like 4x6. It's the painting I did from in Italy. We have this little guy as a tutorial. This one as well. And this one, cute little bird, seagulls. And this one I did in England. It's a really cute little garden urn on Sissinghurst Castle, one of the excursions we went on. This is kind of like a really loose ink and wash of the Goodston Manor that we stayed in. This is the back of the house. You would not notice, but that they have columns in the back of the house. The front of the house is different. That's where I stayed. So I actually have this wonderful photograph that I took in Rye, England. This cute little, there's so many cute little houses in this town. I thought that'd be really cool ink and wash. All those little great lines. When you're doing ink and wash, you want to find something that's kind of like, has a lot of like lines and things you can use as opposed to like simple stuff. I mean, you could do simple stuff, but it's really going to be enhanced more if you're using something that has a lot of, there's a lot of triangular window, like those little windows you see in England, those little crisscross windows. We've got some urns here. And the cute doorway, and etc., etc. And if you are intimidated by just freehand drawing a photograph that you have, there's a couple of suggestions I would tell you to do. You could literally just print out this, right? And take some transfer paper. This is Sorel transfer paper. Put it on your sketchbook, right? And you could put your image on here. Where are we going to put your image? And then you take a ballpoint pen and you can start to mark out, this is a pencil actually, but like a nice sharp object where your lines are, etc., etc. It's like a little cheat kind of situation. I generally wouldn't use this if I was out in plein air. So I would have to like really sit there and look at the image, you see, and then you already have the lines there. Right, so I've already got the lines there. I would just go from here, but plein air is better if you can kind of do it yourself. And I tell people who come to my retreats that it's best to try and just really draw everything yourself. And even if it looks wonky, it doesn't matter, because it's really teaching you to look. You know that there are some most famous artists spent long hours just observing the actual subject matter that they are going to paint. And a great example of this, which I tell everybody, is Monet haystacks, right? How many different varieties of haystacks did he paint? I'm just drawing this real quickly. Looking at the window. There's a window there. There's the window here. This one's right on the edge. Yeah, he observed like the different times of day that the light was shining on the wonderful little haystack. See, I'm just drawing. This is a kind of a cool building because it's just basically squares and rectangles. And if mine doesn't line up, it's not a big deal. It's just kind of cool. And I'll just kind of like whatever this thing is here. And there's the urn, right? There's my little sketch. I'm going to go real quick with the pencil, and then I'm going to go back over with the ink. Now some people are brave, sometimes they don't want to do the pencil. Let's go right for it with the ink, Now, I don't know if I suggest that to you if you haven't been drawing for a while, but if you have, go for it. Go right in there and do that. Just gonna erase some of these lines. So that's just a really cheap way of doing the drawing with the transfer paper. I mean, I don't really know if it's a cheat kind of situation. I think that generally it's just going to help you out to get precise looking design. And I use transfer paper all the time for some of my stuff, even some of the tutorials behind the scenes. Yeah, it just helps me. For more of the advanced tutorials that I would show on Patreon, I would use that transfer paper. 1, 2, 3 of the windows. And it kind of pulls down here. I can barely see in the photograph the door, but I can see that there's panels here. And again, I'm not going to wonder if it's like super perfect. And then all these little lines kind of happening here. They're kind of like not straight. Actually, this one has 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can only get 3 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe my window is too big. You can always just shorten it. And I'll get at my eraser. I'll just make this a little bit smaller so you can fit that one in there. And just go down. You don't have to be perfect. Just get the feel of the actual building. And that's what I keep saying to everybody. Don't make it perfect. So there's the doorway, and there's like a little garden urn. This wasn't the urn that I painted earlier. That, like I said, it was at Sissinghurst Castle. Really cool, very famous gardens they have there. We went on that excursion. We went on another excursion to Rye, which is this one here. We went to first, which is the most beautiful town. I guess they said it's one of the oldest medieval towns in Sussex County, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that it was so cool. So here I'm going to draw out the little walkway. Just going to get really fast with this. And once that's done, once you kind of get your basic done, if you want to do pencil, I'm going to go back over with the ink and get into finer details. So I'm going to grab that pen and come back. So now for my pen of choice. Some people like micron pens. I like the Sharpie Ultra Fine Point Permanent Marker. Now don't use the one that's not permanent. This is the one that's would be not permanent. If it doesn't say permanent right there, it's not permanent. So don't use it. You use the permanent marker. You just go over your lovely, of course this one's dry. I'll have to get in one that's not dry. I'll find one right here. You go over your pencil marks, or if you freehand draw it with it, that's even better, right? I'm just going to go over this lovely little design. And there are those cool windows I talked about with the cross, almost like crotch hatching. They're like, meh, meh. All those little windows you see, the stained glass windows in a lot of the buildings in the UK, the old medieval ones. Really kind of cool. And again, you see, my little drawing here isn't perfection. It's just cute little divots and lines and some wonkiness to it. And to me, that's the beauty of it. I love all the little lines and funkiness about this building. Now some of these windows are thicker than others. And remember, not going to be perfect. And again, they have those little triangular crossing. Lots of fun to do this part. So I'm saying, like, the ink is a much more, I don't know, it's a fun project to do with ink because of all the little wonky lines. I've got my little line that goes across. I probably should have put that one in first. Okay. And then go like this, because they're across that one. But that's okay if I made a mistake on the first one. Nobody's gonna know. Only you will know. You see? So, I'm going to speed this up. You can always slow it down. And that's what you do. You can either use the transfer paper or don't. Just go in and draw these simple little squares and rectangles that you see, etc. And you can just kind of follow me, slow down the video, and draw your own little guy. And if you're a Patreon member, like I said, you would get the traceable. And if you want to be a Patreon member, you can click the link in my about to find Patreon. All right, I'm going to speed it up. So once it's drawn in, then you just go to town painting it. I'm only going to use an 8-round Velvet Touch Series brush today. It's a small little lovely image. So for the sky, you just wash in some ultramarine blue or some cobalt. Here's some cobalt. It's a nice bright blue. Get my cobalt all loosened up here. Very bright, a little brighter than ultramarine blue. And you can just simply just kind of wash in nice blue sky. And I'm going pretty fast. I don't think it's necessary to get really technical on this thing. Like I said, it's just a cute little sketch. And obviously most of the building is got this blackish brown colorization. I'm actually gonna grab a bigger brush, a number 12 Neptune series, for just washing all this kind of color in here. What's great about already using the ultramarine blue or even cobalt, grabbing some burnt sienna, it changes that color to a nice gray. As depending on how much burnt sienna you use, it can be more brown, ultramarine blue, even more blue gray. So we get this brownish kind of color here. You see the colors here. There's many different colors. You can start off with a lighter color like this, and then go in and add some in later that are a little bit more gray, a little more brown. Just gonna go and fill in the street too. The street's all this like great cobblestone, really kind of funky. And I just kind of just drew some little marks to indicate that with the Sharpie pen. See, just my first wash really quick. And this building on the side is more brick. You can add some kind of red. I'll grab some of the reds, mix it in here. Got pyrrole, I've got crimson, do red with like some lovely burnt sienna, and you get like a nice bricky kind of red. Mix it in here. Always use a kind of palette colors to mix in here and play around with it. And then just going to wash in like a red tone for the brick. Try not to get on my little house there. Right? And then I'll go back in. See, I'm still playing with the colors that I mixed in, right? So if I add blue, and we've got this nice, starting to get a deeper gray. See that? Burnt sienna and blue, you get a deep gray. If you want that deep blackish brown, I would use burnt umber, which I have here. And I always grab the wrong color here. Should be Payne's gray. Yes, Payne's gray and burnt umber. Perfect blackish brown color. Now, before you do that, I would, because you know, once you hit the dark colors, that's kind of it. I would recommend trying to play with adding some shading and shadow with some of the blue, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, which I'm doing here, adding more blue. I'm going to water this down. I'm just going to water it down to like a tea consistency. Tea means like just like you think of the drink, really wet. Tap on my paper towel. Get a little bit more blue going in here. And you can add some shadow you know, kind of here, right? Definitely under here. Now it will get more brown, but I think it's best to do the blue where you can over the white before you start adding in the deeper color. So now you see those nice shadows happening. And I wouldn't mind putting it up in here too, because even though you're going to put the brownish color on, it's kind of nice to have varying tones on this. And the roof too. And because it'll get a little overhang here, I'm going to add a little bit here on this white area. And over here on the right. See, and you can do the same thing right in here. Really simple. You can add the bluish gray here on these pots. And of course, on the side here, because the shadow is hitting that side of the building. But you have that red undertones, which makes it really kind of cool. See? Just add that right there. How great is that? Now mine's a little more gray. If you want to add more blue, like I add a little more blue, put the blue in there. Look how cool that looks already. And because you have this lovely grays already mixed, like I said, you can kind of go in here and add your little grays where you see them. There's a lot of red happening too. So I'll let that dry. I'll grab some of my, I have cadmium red light, right? I'm gonna grab some burnt sienna, mix them together. Even grab these colors and mix them together. You get that brickish red color. Water it down. We could start to play with adding some of that if you wanted to get real technical on some of these bricks. Have that reddish kind of color. Some have more brown. You can kind of tap that color like this for the cobblestone street. Actually, my red should get a little more pinky red. I'm gonna grab some more. I'm gonna grab some like pinky red color tone. There we go. And water this down. And get that in here. Put some of that in the bricks. There's a little bit of green in between that. We can go do that in a minute. And there's even brown. So I'm going to grab some of that brown tone that you see. This one here is like a light yellowish color. Leave that. Grab some of the brown. There's even blue. Almost looks like blue stones in here. So I'm going to grab some of that grayish blue tone and just tap, tap, tap. Even some brown. I'm going to play around with these kind of colors. Just going to go over those. Okay. And then now for the lovely color that I told you, that deep brown, blackish color. So it's burnt umber. I'm trying to loosen my burnt umber. It's not cooperating. Here we go. And Payne's gray. Get like a nice deep brown, blackish brown. And that's the color that you kind of see kind of throughout. And you're just going to go into the little, all those little lines and paint them in. Now, if you want to have fun being multimedia, you could have gouache and use that for the window panes. So you don't just leave it the way it is with the black. You'd have to fill it in a little like gray so you can still see the black lines, but this is so much fun. Just painting this little, the doorway is actually more black than brown, but we're going to keep it like that. Just going to fill this in like so. Yeah, I think it needs a little more black color. Well, we can always add that in. Get a little deeper. Show some deep brown and get the nuance in there. And of course, this roof. And up here. I really like these buildings. They were so much fun to look at and to photograph. Lots of fun. So I'm going to just go over this, the lighter wash of this color. And then I'm going to do deeper brown on those little nibs that I kind of drew in. And then up here is like a little bricky kind of chimney, right? And then down here, of course, we have some grays and greens. But look how cute it looks, right? It's not perfect, but you can use that bluish gray for the windows. And I'm just gonna throw that color in. The bluish gray. And that one needs the black in between. And again, down here in some of these little urns, more like brown kind of tone. You can use burnt sienna, you can use yellow ochre. Mix in some yellow in here, get a little bit lighter. Kind of throw that color in there. And then for green, obviously blues and yellows. Use cadmium yellow deep and Prussian blue. Prussian blue, cadmium yellow deep. I've got some simple greens. And I'm just going to tap those in where you see the green. And pretty much we're almost done. Just going to go in there real quick. And then add some brown tones to some of these backgrounds here. And then for the cobblestone, you could do like another light wash of this bluish gray over all of it, because the street's kind of gray. And there you go. Super cute, right? You can get a little deeper in the doorway if you wanted to. It's up to you. Might go back and get a little bit darker still in some of these panels in here. You know, a little deeper color going on here. And up here on these little nibbits. But that's it. That's all she wrote for this really cute. I'm gonna do my window up here. Kind of sketchy ink and wash of a building that I saw in Rye. That's a little too blue, but you can make it that way. Super fun. I hope you enjoyed following along with this. So really, when you're out and about, if you're traveling this summer coming up, or even now, find some really kind of interesting things like this, even if it's just one building or an urn, like I showed before, the one I had before, just to draw that, the ink and wash. It's more interesting, you know, like more lines you can draw, the better. Or if you can't, just use it for cross-hatching or whatever. So I hope this was fun and you enjoyed it. And like I said, if you're a Patreon member, you get the photograph and the traceable. I'm sure you can follow along. It's pretty simple with these lines and whatever. So take care, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to know and hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial is up. And like I said, if you want to be a Patreon member, click the link in the description box to become a Patreon member. It's where people support my channel here. We have free content on YouTube, and I really appreciate it. So, and Patreon members get lots of extra things where you have a Facebook group. You get the first dibs in all my workshops and watercolor retreats, so before the public gets them. So that's always a good thing too. And I'll be announcing some coming up soon. So become a Patreon and get the first tips. Anyway, thank you so much. Take care and have a great day.